This is Brad with Engadget reviewing the Huawei Ascend P1. It's currently available internationally as an unlocked device, and it's Huawei's first time launching a dual core. It's all a part of the company's broad strategy for 2012 as it seeks brand recognition, since it's currently known as a manufacturer of budget phones and tablets. Looking at the devices that have already been announced, however, it's clear that Huawei is taking strides in the right direction. How does the P1 fare against some of the bigger names in the mobile industry? Let's find out. The Huawei Ascend P1 uses the same 1.5 GHz dual-core TI OMAP 4460 processor that you're going to find on the Samsung Galaxy Nexus. This means the P1 has some rather famed footsteps to follow. It's got some solid specs such as a very lightly skinned version of ICS, a gig of RAM, 8 megapixel camera with dual LED flash, and 1080p video record. It's also got quad-band GSM and pentaband 3G that includes AWS. At just under 4 ounces, it's also extremely light. So what separates this phone from giants like the HTC One X and the Samsung Galaxy S3? Unfortunately, it has only 4 gigs of onboard storage, an average 1670 mAh battery, and glossy plastic to help keep it light. The P1 also lacks NFC, and it features a 4.3-inch QHD Super AMOLED panel, which is the same as what you'll find on the Motorola Droid Razr. Now, if you squirm at the thought of pen-tile displays, you're not going to be a fan. The front of the P1 offers a 3-capacitive button setup that includes menu, home, and back. Above the display is a 1.3 megapixel camera and a speaker. Around the edges, there's a micro SD port on the right. On the top, you'll find a full-size SIM card slot, a micro USB, and a 3.5mm headphone jack. There's also a volume rocker on the left. Turning to the back, you'll find the camera, the noise-canceling mic to its right, and a small hump at the bottom that features a speaker grill. The P1 is incredibly thin at 7.7mm, but fortunately it's actually quite comfortable to hold. Many devices that thin come with an awkward feeling when they're placed in our hands, but the sloped edges offer enough of a natural curve to make it a pleasure to use on a regular basis. Now earlier we mentioned that Huawei uses a lightly skinned version of ice cream sandwich. Very much so, in fact, that unless you've used stock ICS before, you may not even realize there's a difference. Ultimately, the main customizations Huawei chose to add to the P1 are in the camera UI, the lock screen, notification bar, and also the addition of a menu button. But there's also something unique on this phone that you're not going to find on very many others. It's an optional alternative skin called 3D Home. To be honest, we're not endeared to it by any stretch of the imagination, and it's more like a launcher than a full-out skin. It actually behaves more like gingerbread than ice cream sandwich, and reminds us of the user interface used on the Huawei Honor. Thanks to the phone's performance, it's easy to switch back and forth between 3D Home and the default ICS skin, as it only takes 3 to 4 seconds on average to switch. Speaking of performance, we found the P1 to be a great choice for power users, fully capable of multitasking without any lag or hangups. The internet browser loaded full pages smoothly without any evidence of tiling, and the full suite of benchmark scores put the P1 neck and neck with the Galaxy Nexus. Graphics performance was above average, but it lacked many of the tiny details you come to expect in today's top-of-the-line chipsets. In terms of battery life, we found the P1 to be average. In our video rundown test, the phone lasted 6 hours and 40 minutes before needing a new charge. In our real-life use tests, we determined that in most cases, you should get through a whole day. Now, anyone who doesn't use their phone consistently will likely be able to make it through a day and a half without concerns. So can the P1 be considered the top-notch contender for Huawei? No, but we shouldn't expect it to be. The P in the phone's name stands for Platinum Series, which is the second-tier series below Diamond. The D series will be considered the high-end flagship phones in Huawei's lineup, and within the next couple months we should see the D Quad come out to eclipse the P1's offerings. Thus, the P1 will be a genuine competitor with devices like the Galaxy Nexus and the One S. In other words, it's still a great phone that offers a stylish look and respectable features, but it's not going to be the best of the best. Overall, we enjoyed testing the Ascend P1. It's a solid indicator of the direction Huawei is taking, and if the company can continue cranking out more phones like this, it should have no problem earning the new brand recognition it craves. Once again, this is Brad with Engadget, checking out the Ascend P1 from Huawei.